Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel L. Chahine.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to this Tuesday, June 20th edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. I'm Spencer Israel here with Joel L. Chahine, Dennis Dick, and Dylan Wittenberg. On the show today, we're going to talk about Snapchat hitting that $17 level, making a bit of a stand there. Tesla may have a new Chinese factory. Boeing may be supplying the entire Indian military, and AMD is hot. What else is new? Nic Chahine will join us. He's our guest at 8:35. He's our go-to options expert, the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Joel, how are we doing on the S&Ps today?
Well, we're a little bit in the red here. Quiet overnight range. We're actually trading on the low of the overnight session. Potential double top. How many times have you heard that? 24.50, 150. That was the high and the all-time high from yesterday. Current high, 24.51. We also keep an eye on that close, 47.50, the all-time closing high. Looking at the 15-minute chart in crude, down $1.14 to 43.30. I think it's time for OPEC to come out to the rescue here. Heading back towards those lows from January of 2016 here. Basis the front month contract, that's down in the 39 area, 38.98. That was your low back in February of 2016. Gold and silver, gold under 12.50, but still up 40 cents at 12.47.10. Silver hanging in there at 16.50. Dennis, how you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Doing pretty good. Let's talk that oil for a minute because we haven't talked oil or focused on it for a while. It's been all about the momos with the volatility there. But just quietly here, as the oil continues to leak, these oil stocks too, I tell you, some of them look like they're hanging on a cliff. Check out the chart of Halliburton, HAL. And we haven't talked about these for a while. So looking at it for the first time in a little while back, just 3 months ago, we're hitting up $56. Look at the consolidation, though, in the last month, just around this whole $43, $44 area. It's interesting. Some of the crude stocks have held up despite crude making new lows, but this is just hanging on here. It looks like it's ready to fall off a cliff. It is trading down here in the pre-market. You wonder if today's whoosh in oil doesn't cause Halliburton to break that major support level.
Taking out the low of the move at 43.62. Not a lot of volume here, but keep an eye on yesterday's low at 43.38 for a gap fill. That was the low of the move. Also, we came down to this area in May 4th. You had a 43.70 low. Any other stocks in the sector you'd like to take a look at?
Well, just interesting, and the big guns have actually held up fairly well with the recent slide in oil. We know ExxonMobil actually was hitting its lows about 2.5 weeks ago, and oil I don't believe was doing that. So you can see ExxonMobil is actually off its lows, Chevron's off its lows, ConocoPhillips are off their lows, but today they're all getting hit pretty hard. And you just wonder, it hasn't gotten any major attention here, but now as oil started to break down, you start to see these stocks slide here too. I mean, some of these oil stocks are starting to get ugly, and then you start thinking about the smaller companies. And we talked about this last year, where or in 2016, early 2016, when oil was in trouble. We're like, man, if oil doesn't get back up above $55, $60 in a hurry, a lot of these little companies could go under. And we've seen since that time. You can look at a company like Seadrill, SDRL, is now 42 cents. I mean, that looks like it's over for that stock. Transocean Rig, which is another one that is very dependent and needs to get higher oil prices here. They've cut the dividend once already. I mean, look at this thing. It's got a 1.79%, but you got to think that other dividend's in trouble here too. It's hanging out near. I'll go back on the chart. How far do you got to go back to get these prices here, Joel, on Rig or IG?
I don't even think basis my monthly here. I mean, you're even my go back. You're beyond your 2004 lows that were in this area, well below it. So I don't even have data going back that far. Yeah. But a couple other implications for this, Dennis, and and there's really not much talk about it yet. But what about the banks that have exposure to some of these drillers and some of the debt and some of their loans? Now, right now, that's not a fear in the market. Higher interest rates taking some of these bank stocks up, but eventually, maybe some of that debt is just going to be, going to turn into turn into big losses for some
And
of
we
these
talked
banks.
about this for the Canadian banks, and one that has some pretty good exposure to some of those smaller Canadian companies, which probably are hurting, when oil is falling down like this, is the Bank of Nova Scotia, which is BNS. Stock actually has been coming back on a U.S. basis, but again, you've got to look at the chart. It's actually interesting because the Canadian dollar has been strengthening, which you wouldn't think, the Canadian dollar would be this strong with oil going down like that, but there's been like a disconnect here just as of late. But even on a Canadian basis, the Bank of Nova Scotia chart has come back a little bit. So you're early on this trade. If you're thinking, that eventually this oil is going to start to spread and leak into some of the Canadian banks that have exposure there as we lose maybe some of these smaller companies, the Bank of Nova Scotia is not that far off its all-time highs. On a Canadian basis, 82.30 was a Canadian high. 78.57 is where it closed yesterday. So you're only $3 or $4 off its all-time high. They do have, some nice valuations over there. Some of them are actually valued. They're actually starting to be a little more expensive, but just because they've had the run up here in the last year. But 3.87% dividend, that's the one thing you got to pay. But that's a consideration here, Joel. There might be a play there. I mean, you want to have a stop out. It didn't really work in 2016. That was the only thing. If you were selling it when they really started hitting those stocks back in 2016, that ended up being the lows. And since then, Bank of Nova Scotia has been straight up. So they have some exposure. Is it gonna, be threatening to, like make them cut their dividends or anything? I doubt it, because I don't know if there's been a Canadian bank that has ever cut the dividend. I can't remember a Canadian bank. In chat, if you're any Canadians in there, if you can enlighten me, but I don't remember any of the big 6 Canadian banks ever cutting their dividends.
And just one final note, if you're trading the crude oil or the USO and you're sitting on a nice short position here, I mean, that's one market I think you always got to be protected in as far as stops go, because, OPEC, I mean, they got to say something soon, right? I mean, they want to defend it at some level and get a little pop up. And also you have some oil numbers coming out at 10:30, so there'll be some good trading action. But, try and, if not at your target yet in some of these crude trades, at least try and lock in some profits, because stranger things have happened, especially in that crude oil market.
The one thing, as crude continues to slide, and back when I was trading 10 years ago, these relationships held very well. It's kind of like, sometimes relationships hold, sometimes they don't now. It's kind of a weird market. Whenever oil is going down, usually the airlines are going up. And if you do look overall, there is that correlation there. And oil is very weak. And you look at a stock like Southwest, which is right bumping up at its all-time highs. You look at or its recent highs, at least of the move. American Airlines come back a long ways. UAL. So Delta's another one, DAL. I mean, the airlines have been performing well, obviously with the weak crude.
Yeah. All right. Got some other news to cover this morning.
Joel wants to move on. That's a sneaky way of having us move on. Tesla, TSLA. This is the big news of the day. And Spencer, something going on in China?
Yeah, report that they're near a deal for a Chinese plant in China that would get them on the board there, and that's stock's up at 6:30. It was up 2.5%. What are we up now?
Up over 3%. And I mean, this has been the major concern for, Tesla, and the bear case for Tesla. A lot of it is like, how are they going to get the production? Even if they have the demand, where are they going to build these cars? They need some facilities to do it. Well, it looks like Musk is working on that. I mean, this is good news for Tesla shareholders. Does it change my thesis of it? No, it's still not my kind of stock, because it's, just so expensive, and I'm a value guy. But the growth guys love this, and that's why you're seeing it move up another 11 points here this morning, because they're saying, hey, we're going to get production maybe in China, so it's going to even be cheaper production. And the stock is trading right up near the all-time high. 384.25 is where it hit just 4 days ago. We're right up near that near that price right now.
Yeah, can't fight the tape. 384.70 is a level that you hit in pre-market trading. Came a little shy on the last bracket to 84.55. So you do have a seller. Good point there, Dennis. Lurking near that all-time high at 384.25. On days like this, I like to see if they can post a new all-time closing high. That rep is represented by 380.66. So another good day for Tesla, and I'm sure Nick will have a few comments here when he comes on. And just another note on this, when all those tech stocks went down, what was it going to be 2 weeks ago on Friday? Remember how this went down, but very begrudgingly. So strength in a weak market, and now you have the reason why.
Let's just take a quick look at GM and Ford here too, because they're not trading down much here, but I just think, I don't know why, and no position here, but looking at it, you wonder if this is going to be a concern here now that Tesla's possibly going to get in production here, major production in China. This doesn't put a little bit of pressure on Ford and GM today. I do see GM trading down 17 cents in the pre-market. Ford hasn't really traded here yet. It's only traded 432 shares, just down a couple of cents. But I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Is there a trade there maybe short in Ford GM here today?
Well, first of all, they haven't done the plant yet. And second, who knows how long it's going to take to bring it online for production and whatnot. But Ford, man, this thing has been sleepy. I will just say, if you're looking to short Ford, you have 6 highs right at the 1130 area. That's been good resistance. And you haven't really been able to break below 11. You did a few days ago when you hit 1091, but it's in a tight range. Dennis, we talked about this, and you're not going to hit this thing down, a dime or 15 cents, but maybe
that's usually the range of the day.
But maybe you could get something flat on the session. But right now, there's no panic here yet in the other motor stocks.
Downward dog wants to know about Goldman Sachs. We did have the CEO on Kramer last night, and he was talking up the banking sector there, talking the Volcker rule, talking all kinds of stuff, talking Dodd-Frank. While Goldman Sachs not really responding here this morning, trading down here in the pre-market. You know what? It's been running into some resistance here. And the banks have had a decent little run here as of late, but they're all butted their heads right up against their old resistance levels. That Goldman 230 kind of jumps out like a sore thumb. Morgan Stanley, if you look at that one, that $46 level, we bumped up there. We almost got up there yesterday, couldn't quite get through it. Citigroup, JP Morgan, all have had pretty good runs as of late. The only concern is that they're coming up into the resistance points from May.
And the Fed, the Fed did their thing, and they took rates up a quarter point. That's been the reason for a lot of the strength in the banks. I'll just go over these real quickly. Dennis gave you that level in Goldman Sachs right at the 227 area. Also struggled at that area right before earnings. Bank of America, I don't have to look at the chart there. I can tell you $24 has been a level. Snuck above it a couple times, but sellers congregating. 24 even was the high from yesterday. JP Morgan crawled its way back from the lower $82 level. JP Morgan, they actually made a new high of the move yesterday, but keep an eye on 88. It struggled there in late April and early May.
Jumping over here to other news, and in the chat they're talking about it. John is talking about CMG. That's getting the beats here this morning. They came out right at 4 o'clock with some news. What was that news CMG was saying, Spencer? 4 o'clock.
It was updated guidance. They said that their Q2 food costs will be about 34% of sales, marketing, and promotion costs, are up 20 to 30 basis points quarter over quarter, so 3.6 to 3.7% of sales. And operating costs as a percentage of sales are going to be at or slightly higher than they were in Q1.
I mean, don't tell me those big hole numbers don't work. Back in April, May, this thing tried to get up over 500. It could not do it. Tried once in April, tried again in May, got up to 499, and then started peeling off. Formed the dreaded head and shoulders there, and then has just been leaking ever since. And you look at it here, and you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, although we're breaking down here again. We're getting, obviously, back down to yesterday's low, because I actually had a pretty good day yesterday. I don't know if anybody's jumping in here buying this thing on that news, though.
You mentioned like the whole numbers and the half numbers. Look at 450 in your daily sessions. That held on 1 day, but you did take it out yesterday. Looking at this one, I do see a trio of lows, right? Or actually a double bottom at 445 and a half area. But the thing that's keeping me out of this is because, you had that move up from 360 to over 500. That's a 140-point move. So if you go $70 for a 50% retracement, you're getting back down to 4.25 and 430. So that's why I've been laying. I like the 450 for that 1 day, but now maybe I'll peel back and wait for that 4.25, 430, 50% retracement of that big up move that you had.
Another level, and we're just talking big levels, it looks like today, but Snap, we did say it yesterday on the show. I don't know if anybody caught it, but I was talking about the 17 level there. I know we were coming in and out, and we had some technical difficulties there yesterday at the beginning. This is one thing I had on my list to talk about yesterday. Wish I would have followed my list, because this thing tanked right down to the 17 level once again right off the open. It bounced right off it hard. It bounced so hard, Joel, like a half an hour. It popped over $1, 17 to 18. So this 17 level is just enormous. This was the IPO price. This is the level that obviously there's some big institutions defending. The lows from the last 3 days, 17, 17, and 1703. We get down there at 17. I mean, it's worked 3 times. Why not try it the 4th time, right? Takes out 17, starts going 1690, get the hell out.
Also, if you're looking to cover a short, right?
I'm covering there.
Yeah, there's some support areas that sometimes, are good, much better to cover a short. 1788 close. Dennis, just talk a little bit about, we say underwriters defending a price. They have clients in at levels. And actually, I saw a little note yesterday that JP Morgan's been buying a lot of this stock, and even at higher levels. So let's give how analysts do defend, or not analysts, but underwriters defend stocks, and basically.
I think they defend them early in the IPO. It's surprising that they're defending it this far in now, because when did this, actually come out? Like, let's go back, all the way to, okay, so this has been out for over 3 months here now. It's a public company for over 3 months. And, it opened way above 17. So this is the first time it's actually tested its IPO price. So maybe that's, at first time back down here. But just interesting that the underwriters look like there's somebody still defending it. And I happen to think, it's the underwriters. You were mentioning this morning, remember Facebook, when it got down to its IPO price of $38 on the first day, that level was like a rock. It traded, hundreds of millions of shares at 38. It would not move. There was just a bid underneath that wasn't moving. That was probably what they're saying, is probably the underwriters trying to hold the price up, because it looks bad if it falls below their underwritten price. It looks like they had the stock too high. So that's why they like to defend that price. It just appears like the same thing is happening here again. I mean, when you get too low, 17, 17, 1703, it's telling me there's some institution there. Why would it not be the underwriters? So that's why I think they're sitting out there with a bid. It's a matter of how much stock they can take in before they got to let it slide through. So they're obviously trying to defend it, hoping, that eventually the market will just take it higher and they won't have to buy anymore. And obviously they can, take off whatever stock that they bought, the extra shares that they were buying at those levels. But it's not only that. You have day traders and institutional traders that probably say, oh, this is a big level. This was the IPO price. It's going to be other traders that come in. So you call those anticipatory traders that are maybe coming in and buying at that level as well. But whatever it is, whatever the reasons is, we can never really know, because it's anonymous, but we can speculate that 17 level is going to be big. And if you've been speculating the last 3 days that level was going to hold, you've been correct, and you've been paid for being correct.
And Dennis, I actually wanted to add, we're only about 5 weeks away from the first lockup expiration in
Great
Snap.
point.
So watch out for that, because that's coming early August. And
The worst could eventually happen, and there's multiple trade setups here. First, I would say support is support until it's broken. So if you're trading it, at that level, if you're buying 1705, 1710, 1720 when it comes down there and flipping it out for day trades, great. That works. That would have worked yesterday. Would have worked the day before. Would have worked the day before that. If it takes out 17 and starts going 1690. Then you're concerned that, hey, that's a major breach of support. This thing could start sliding even farther. So I say support is support until it's broken, and it's worked the last 3 days to be buying off that level. And I might be playing it that way again, too. Knowing my out is, if it starts checking out 17, starts going 1690, I think I don't want any part of it being long.
And I think this thing's going to settle in between 17 and 18. You did get up to 1834 yesterday. That was a nickel above the June 14th high, settled under 18. So they tighten up. Sellers are going to, keep coming down, and most likely it will take out that $17 level when you get like a 17 and a quarter close or a 17.20 close. You get a little downgrade. Boom, you don't have that far to go. Now you're trading down 8 cents. It's pretty good average ranges here, but not quite getting the running start. Could definitely happen today, but 1788 close will be a good number to keep an eye on.
One earnings stock we have not covered here yet is Lennar, L-E-N. Stock trading up in the pre-market. Spencer, give us the details on how Lennar did on their quarter.
Lennar reported this morning Q2 adjusted or Q2 EPS 91 cents versus 78-cent estimate. Revenue 3.3 billion versus 2.87. So they beat on the EPS, they beat on the revenue, and they passed a 52-week high.
I'll tell you, this is a stock, though. These home builders, for whatever reason, often pop on pretty good numbers and then start to slide and give it back. And we are already seeing that in Lennar here this morning. What is the pre-market high on LEN?
Got a quick print on some decent volume at 55.75, but now almost leakage there, almost $2 off that high.
Yeah, and this is something that this stock has done in the past, and a lot of the other home builders have done too, is actually start to sell off on good reports. So I'm cautious buying this thing up here this morning, just because what's happened in the past can sometimes happen in the future. I always look for patterns, and that just jumps out of my head. I can remember Lennar even having a pretty good quarter, trading up 4 or 5% in the pre-market. I don't know if it was last quarter or the quarter before that, and then actually going red on the day. So I'm cautious to be buying it up here, more apt to be selling rallies as opposed to buying dips, just because of what it did last time.
And I think there's still relevance here to the $55 level. Your 4-day high is 54.84. Man, now is that just a 54.45 print? So, keep an eye on really up from that 54.84 high up to see if there's any big paper at the whole number.
Jumping back over to your ratings, which we haven't covered here yet today, and we got a few interesting ones. NVIDIA catching an upgrade at Pacific Crest. I believe it's just to neutral, right, Spencer?
Yes, I think so. Let me confirm.
Okay, so NVIDIA trading up just a little bit here. It did take out that 155 level that we had talked about yesterday on yesterday's abbreviated show. We were saying if it gets above 155, it could be in breakout mode again. You know what? That's a level I'm looking at, because there was 3-4 highs there. It took that out yesterday. Comes back to that level. Maybe that's a level you try for a long on a little pullback here if NVIDIA slides a bit. AMD is moving up in sympathy here. AMD popping back. I still have not bought it, even though I've talked about it multiple times, putting it in my investment portfolio. I'm going to kick myself eventually when this is 15, 16 bucks, and I didn't take all of these opportunities to buy it in the 10s and 11s. Well, it's back in the 12s here now. Not sure if I'm going to shop back at 11 or not, but something tells me that both these stocks just continue to want to go higher. I'm a buyer of pullbacks on these, at least on paper.
In the NVIDIA, 159, that level has been defended since your 4 o'clock open of stocks this morning. So keep an eye on that. Basis the daily chart here, things are kind of wide open. Up, I see a 168.50 high, and that's when left tagged the stock. So maybe look for, if it looks like you have a low early in the day, look at the average daily range as a target, because I just don't think after coming off that 168.50 so hard, you have people stuck in there. So you're going to have to find some intermediate levels between the current pre-market high and way up in the all-time high at 168.50.
McDonald's catching an upgrade at Cowen. Is it Cowen? I can't read my writing. Yes. I wrote it down. Yep. I can't even read my own handwriting.
Cowen to outperform.
Stock is trading up 86 cents here in the pre-market. Stock has just quietly come back to all-time highs here. Again, I got to go to the book. I'm going to the book right now to see what I see. And you know what? It's not that much. At 154, I see 4,000 shares. I see another 10,000 shares at 155. So the book's kind of empty. That being said here, somebody got really excited, bought an odd lot up at 155.09 this morning. But a lot of stock trading the 153 handle. I don't know. I feel like McDonald's, I feel like everybody's late to the party that's coming in here buying this thing now.
Yeah, I think we've been saying that since 130 or 140.
Yeah. The parties can continue for a while before somebody, ends up, breaking a chair or something.
153.90, that's your all-time high. You had the all-time closing high at 153.74. That's where we're trading right now. Not much paper at 154. Just a monster run in here. So that print way up at 150. Actually, I got a 156.01 print, but on very, very little volume up there. Yeah. Keeping an eye on that former all-time high, or it's going to be former after today. 153.90 all-time closing high, 53.74.
One stock deal to talk about. PRXL is getting acquired by who?
Pamplona.
Private company?
Yes.
Pamplona Capital. Yep, private company.
88.10 cash.
That's
right.
88
It's,
in
I saw.
cash. That's what it is. 88
So
in
it's
cash.
trade down a buck. It's trade, risk arms are putting $1, and it's interesting, you can see the difference between this and something like a Whole Foods where they're speculating that it might get a better bid. This is actually trading $1 below its takeout price. So people are basically saying, okay, this is over. So they're giving, just in case the deal doesn't go through, they give that, dollar, the risk arms are putting $1 discount on the deal, which is what you can buy. If you buy it today at 87.05 and it does indeed close, you'll make $1.05. So, but alternatively, you're looking at Whole Foods, which we wanted to jump in to talk about here too. Whole Foods cash takeout price is $42 for Amazon. It's trading $43.22. So if you think that deal's going through, you're actually going to lose $1.22 if you think the deal's going to go through. Obviously, the market is speculating that, hey, there might be a better bid out there. Maybe somebody comes in to defend maybe somebody else comes in with a better price because they don't want Amazon to get the Whole Foods. I don't know what David Faber said yesterday. He does not see that happening. He's fairly connected there at CNBC. I don't know, Joel. You were thinking about we wanted to talk about this yesterday on the show, but the show wasn't working. Give us your thoughts here. Break down Whole Foods, why you think it's not that bad of a purchase above the takeout price.
Well, it's getting a little bit of ways from there. I just think there might be a little juice in the deal, but the fact that it didn't happen on Monday, I'm a little bit surprised. You thought you'd have those major board meetings over the weekend saying this can't happen. So you didn't see anything come out on Monday. So it doesn't mean that something can't happen, but the fact that day that the deal was announced, that it closed over that price, just kind of gave me a little inclination. You could still just use your charts on this one. 43.64. That was the high from yesterday. The other thing is this is getting taken out quite a distance from its all-time high at 65.59. So I don't know if you're going to have any activists that are involved in the stock balking at this price, but it's certainly at a discount to its all-time high than it made in October 2013.
I mean, there's probably no antitrust issues here. So the deal, and probably, and just setting up worst case scenarios here. I think kind of, my opinion, the worst case scenario is the deal actually does go through and it goes through at $42. So you're risking $1. So it's kind of like, an option, really at this point in time that, maybe there's going to be a better bid that comes out there. Is it likely? Probably not. But, people buy, lottery tickets all the time. And they're hoping that maybe somebody like, maybe a Walmart or path was in the millions of dollars. It was nothing for AT&T and Verizon to go in a bidding war for that because it was a drop in the bucket. When you're talking, what is it, $14 billion deal here? I mean, can Kroger do that? Probably not. Can Walmart do it? Absolutely. Does Walmart want to do it? Probably not.
Well, Dennis,
so I just don't know. Yeah.
What about the longer term, investors who don't care, who just see Amazon and they automatically see, oh, this is great news for Whole Foods, regardless of the takeout price. This is great news. In 5 years, it'll be $80.
Well, yeah, but it's getting taken out for 42 cash though. So up here at $43.22, you're just throwing away $1.22. The only reason to buy it above the takeout price is to say that they're going to get a better price. So I just don't know if I see that happening because I'm trying to think who the suitors would be. What was it? How many billion are we talking here? 14?
We are talking. That's a good question.
I'm throwing it under the bus, but I know the pros got it in there.
Yeah,
so
it's in the pro search. Wow, so many going back, so many block trades. It was $42 a share, so $13.7 billion.
Okay, so $13.7 billion. So who, can Kroger afford? Kroger's in trouble. Can they afford to, try to find $13.7 billion to try to come here and buy Whole Foods? I don't think so. So I think they're out. So, Super Value, like some of those smaller groceries, no way. Those are all out too. The only ones that could be a potential suitor, I mean, could you get like a private company like a Meijer coming in? Meijer would have the money to do it, but do they even want to do it? Costco, are they going to do it? No, it doesn't make any sense for them. The only suitor I can really, from my thinking, it would be like a Target or a Walmart that could probably do it, but even if you do it, so let's just say hypothetical situation. Okay, well, we don't want Amazon coming in. We're gonna chump their bid. At least make them pay some more money. Really, when you think about it, though, like Amazon's just gonna come out and buy somebody else then if they can't get this. You can buy Super Value. You can go even buy Kroger. I mean, they're coming. They're coming. And if you're at Walmart, your Costco, your Target, Amazon's coming at you. And it doesn't matter really what you do. So, throwing away money here on a Whole Foods, or trying to slow them down isn't the reason to buy this company. And that's why I don't think Whole Foods is going to get a better bid. And that's why, I was thinking about buying it at 42.80, 43.22 starts to get away. You're risking it at $1.22. I don't think it's getting a better bid.
Yeah, Kroger, we'll just talk about that real quick, trying to fill some major gaps here. But, man, to feel like the institutions are still trying to parcel out of this one. You did trade in the green on Friday, not by much, holding flat here, 22.97. That was your high from yesterday's session. We'll keep an eye on that.
Kroger, just speaking of them, imbalances came out. They do have a 54,000 share buy imbalance here this morning. So coming back a little bit here, Target, Walmart leaked a little bit. They're still all trying to digest. Costco got hit again hard.
I know.
Costco's been hit the worst here. You think about, and Walmart isn't all groceries. Costco is basically all food. So, I know they sell some other stuff, but their focus is on food. That's the one that's been hit the worst here. Do you think these Amazon Whole Foods, coming in here is really, Kramer was speculating that, yeah, it could hurt, Costco. But I don't know. I don't know if I see Costco, all of a sudden just falling off. And, you go to those stores, are so busy. I think your Costco shopper is still going to go to Costco, even if there's an alternative of an Amazon Whole Foods.
Yeah, it's different. It depends on what Amazon does with the Whole Foods. Obviously those, very expensive brands, they're going to be gone, right? And I know Amazon has a lot of different brands of their own. They're creating for clothes and different things and whatnot. So it just depends. The stores are not big enough unless they've identified Whole Foods where there's more real estate. I think this is a real estate play, if anything, aside from it. So I don't know. It really depends what business model they plan to go with when they take over this Whole Foods.
Also, at a certain point in time, I'd be interested in Costco's. I get, I look in those stores, you can look at it. At a certain point in time, you got some value here. And I don't know if it's at 164. I don't know if it's 155. But you start getting down to like the lows, from 150 to 145 area. I think, that's discounted enough where I'd be interested in maybe making a purchase. I think it got overdone. I think it had a big run when it went from 150 to 180 basically this year. And it's giving that back, because people are scared about this Amazon Whole Foods. So it's a matter of, I'm going to let it stop going down first. Something you taught me, Joel, is, when you're looking at things, at least let it stop going down before just trying to call the bottom. Because when the momentum's on it, not on your side, which it's not for the bulls in Costco right now, stock can continue down for a while.
Yeah, there's some gaps to fill too in the issue. I don't know if it was earnings related or not, but you got some downside gaps to fill. Really, this thing's taken a haircut from the all-time high that it had, 182.50. So it's traded up 91 cents in the pre-market. Shorts, let's see if they want to try and cover at yesterday's low of 162.39. And I did notice a few other lows in that area, and that was back from early April.
Spencer, were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, we live in a world where Urban Outfitters can buy pizza chains. So like, why can't Google buy Whole Foods, right? Why can't Apple buy Whole Foods? If Amazon's going to do it, why can't they do it?
We're just getting everything. I'll just maybe McDonald's will buy Whole Foods. I don't know if I'm going that way, but yeah, anybody can buy them. But if the stock's trading 43, the market thinks that there's a potential another suitor out there. It would be if they thought this was a done deal, the stock would be trading like 41.5. It's trading at 43, so it's telling you, and it's not like it's just been trading there for like a half an hour. They're trading there for now a day and a half. So it's telling you the market thinks there's a potential suitor out there that might trump the bid. I'm saying I don't think so. In my opinion, I think the market's wrong.
All right, 8:35. It's time for our guest. It's Nic Chahine. We're going to bring him on live right now. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads on the Marketify platform. Joins us every Tuesday. Nic, are you with us? Oh, Nic, you with us?
Hello.
Hey, Nic, how's it going?
Good, but for some reason my headset is not working. So let me see if I can fix that real quick.
Okay.
Oh, we hear you fine.
Yep, coming through loud and clear.
Yeah.
And you're live too.
No worries. Do it on my end, folks.
All right.
Nick, we've just
What a
been
shocker.
diving into this Whole Foods, Amazon, and who the potential suitor could be for Whole Foods. We couldn't find one here on the show, although Spencer thought Google might buy them just jokingly. But Amazon here, we didn't talk about the chart of Amazon, and that's why we've got Nic Chahine on here, because he's the technical analyst and he'll look at the options and he can tell you. Let's talk about the technicals on Amazon here, because so much focus on Whole Foods, but Amazon had a big pop from this too, giving back a little bit yesterday as some of the momos started leaking. But what are your thoughts here on the Amazon technicals?
Give him back. I don't know where you see that. I mean, the
A
technicals.
little bit yesterday from the highs. Got up to 1017, then it came down to 995. So 20-point sell off from the highs yesterday.
Well, on Amazon, the technicals really almost don't matter at this point. It's the fact that every dip is being bought and then some on top of it. So we had the chance on that one day. It had I think it was a mathematical correction almost. I think it was 6.9. Where the candle was massive and the tail was completely rejected when it touched like 925 on my screens thereabouts, and that was it. It kind of like shook out all it needs to shake out to continue its upwards trend. So unless the markets in general fall, I would not short Amazon at all. I wouldn't chase it up here just because it's hard for me personally to throw that kind of money at the top after such a huge rally in it and in the markets. But I definitely would find better things to short.
All right, Nick, let's move on to some other issues here. And first, I haven't heard much about Apple lately. And same thing there. You had basically that the tech wreck with the Goldman Sachs. But, man, it gave you a couple chances at the $142 level. I see a couple highs up at 147.5. Currently trading 146.59. I mean, easily this thing could do a 50% retracement, and that would take you 157, 15-point move, 7.5, maybe 150-ish here, potential target in Apple.
Well, it could be. There are a few things in the way. I think I need to see 147, 148 almost in order, because there's like that mini area where there's a thin candle. I don't know if it counts it doesn't count as gap, but there was a period of time where we had a couple of weird candles upwards on 5.5, 5.8. The period of time where it took it to that upper 152 area, and then we completely took that back. So what was that hump all about? That's what I want to know. And the door to that hump is around 148. So I want to see what it does around 148 before I chase it. However, in the long term, from a value perspective, Apple is a good thing. Plus, I have Buffett defending my stock for me if I buy it, because if he defended the stock in IBM, he sure will defend his ownership in this one.
Now, that's an interesting take. And the Tesla, now Tesla's starting to leak here. We did get up into the 380 handle, still up $4 here. I know you did have some short puts in that. Are you still sticking with them? And any kind of a place where maybe if you get back up to the 380, any potential short areas?
Short? No, I would not want. I would not want to short this one. Not because I don't think it's overvalued or anything. Just because, like, my argument against shorting Tesla here is that its upside story is long term. Just like the Trump trade, you cannot deny it for a while, even if you're correct. You need a lot of time in order to prove them wrong. And boy, he shut me up, Elon. And I was a big skeptic when it was, a lot cheaper than this. And yes, I did sell puts, but I'm embarrassed to say they were at 195, I think, and they were pennies, so I closed them for a profit, obviously. And I have not initiated new ones. I did scalp a few along the way, but not recently. So I don't want to short it. And I definitely don't want to chase it out here. So if I'm not on board this one, I say, okay, I missed it. Let's see what develops there. I did not read the news this morning, although I was listening to you guys. So I'm thinking they're expanding somewhere else for production, which would be good from the car side. But I think the story is not just cars. It's whatever he's trying to do, which is like an alternative energy company of sorts. So I did get a video from them as an advertisement about some new car that's coming out. I didn't read the car, but I did watch the video. It was pretty interesting. It was a self-driving car, a trip from point A to point B in fast forward mode. And then the guy gets out of the car and it parks itself. So it was kind of impressive to see that happen. As a car company, I'm not too excited about it, but as a Tesla story, I can't short it.
Nick, crude oil here. Boy, oh boy,
Ouch.
it's been in the tank here. OPEC, I'm surprised they haven't stepped in here during the decline. I know you had looked at you were trading the range for a while between 40, I don't know, it was like 46 and 50 or the high 45s. When it finally took that out, did you get caught on that, or were you nimble enough to avoid a haircut?
I'm avoiding a haircut. I am nimble enough because the way I do it pretty cautiously. Although this price will have to look at it this morning and see what I want to do if I want to do anything. Crude oil, like you said, I think that OPEC needs to defend it, and they have tried, but it fizzled with rhetoric. So the rhetoric will probably step up. If not, they will probably create an incident somewhere to do it. I thought that the talk about some, Syrian and U.S. confrontation, I'm sorry, Russian and U.S. confrontation over Syria would bring that price up like you wouldn't believe, but it had the opposite effect, which is kind of like the market shrugging off the political unrest. I mean, that's pretty serious stuff. Can you think about it? If the Russia said we'll bring down any U.S. planes over Syria, one part of Syria or another, I mean, that should shake that market scared and tighten the perception of supply there. So it didn't happen. So now I posted a chart. I look at the candle that happened in November, last November, I think November 14th, which was the bottom in oil. The bottom of the candle was in the 42s, 42, 20, 12, something like that. So look at that and see if we get there and what happens.
Nick, we talked about the airlines earlier, just saying, that often when oil is weak, the airlines will show strength. Another stock that shows strength when the oil is weak is Boeing, because they're actually making the planes. I saw another contract going by for BA as well. It's approaching a major psychological level of $200 here. Actually, right now as we speak, it's trading 200 right on the kisser. Talk technically here, BA.
BA technical is easy. I don't even look at the chart. What happens, every dip is a buyable thing in the BA because it doesn't dip. I learned this when, I can't remember when, last couple of years, we literally had planes on fire falling out of the sky and the stock rebounded within the same day. So dips are being bought just because it's maybe two suppliers for the whole world. It's hard to short that story. Although this is an unusual ramp, I don't want to go short it for sure. And going dips, it'll be nimble. Like I get in and out because eventually this, like you said, I think somebody's going to break a chair in this party. I think this whole party is going to end one way or another, and we don't know how. But you have to be nimble to get out. So buying up here for me, I don't do it. But if it does fall, like it fell in May, that would have been a buying opportunity. I missed it. I probably talked about it, but then I didn't put my money on my life.
Nick, let's take a look at the financials here. Whether you want to look at Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, the XLF, you did get the nice bump, the nice rally off the Fed announcement. But man, the data we're seeing. I mean, do we still have two hikes on left this year? Tell us what you're looking for a continuation rally in the financials.
I'm long financials, but definitely long Bank of America. I trimmed some back yesterday just because I had too much open risk. Technically, they look good, and theoretically, they look good. So there's no reason to short them. That's for starters. And Bank of America, for example, above 24 is attractive from a perspective where it's knocking on the roof, which is that 24 area. And if it finally breaks through it, it's been a failure point at one point or another there. But if it does break through and closes above it convincingly, it could still retest the 25. I'm not forecasting that, but if you're short it, you have to think about that. And it's a potential long, but I don't buy calls, as you know. I'd rather sell puts, and I sold puts in Bank of America when it was falling, and I was rewarded. In fact, I sold puts not at the bottom, and then it fell, and I doubled up. So when it rallied, I'm green all over. So that's how I manage my risk.
Thoughts on the overall market? New all-time high yesterday in the S&P futures, 24.51.50. We hit 51 even today, so potential double top in there. But Nick, I know you're not looking for tops. You're looking to buy bottoms in this issue. But where would you start to get a little worried? S&P cash, spiders, whatever you want to look at, that we could have some kind of meaningful correction? Or do you think you need a geopolitical event, something out of the White House?
Yeah, well, you've heard me say this. We need a headline, whatever it is, that changes the game. Any temporary shakeup is buyable dip. And you can see we finally broke out of the range as I posted, and we touched that little circle I put above. But any headline that does not change the game is buyable. What does change the game is, for example, Trump leaving. That changes the game. Something like that. Obviously, something that breaks mechanically. I read something about the MSCI today controlling 20 trillion, like something breaking in that. If that happens, that's beyond everybody's pay grade, obviously. So a black swan event, so to speak, or a headline that actually changes the game. And so far it hasn't. So as much as I hate it being up here, if you look at individual mega stocks, they're not overvalued mathematically speaking, but they are extended in their runs. So they are vulnerable from that perspective. So I'm torn. So I stick with the price action.
Let's jump back to a couple stocks that have been out of the news here for a while, but some of these department stores that have been absolutely murdered. I'm just looking at the Macy's chart, and the stocks went from 30 down to 22, and it's kind of just hanging here again. What do you make of the technicals here? Like, I could see you could argue a little cup and handle here. Maybe it's going to get some love, or is this just consolidation to go lower?
Holy cow! I need to go back, to a weekly chart and decades and almost in order to see what about levels. Try to find a level. Well, if I'm looking at that, there's a giant Head and Shoulders with like an $8 target on it. But
$8.
I'm not calling for it, but this is a band that actually. Let me show you. Let me see if I can go to a monthly. Regardless, I don't like the fact that these guys had 10 years to prepare for Amazon, and they twiddled their thumbs. And now last year they were like, "Oh my God, we need to do something about this Amazon company."
Too late.
It's like you waited 10 years, and now you want to do something about it. So if you look at the monthly chart I just posted, if you think about overshoots up and down. As extremes, somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So there's no reason for it to go up from here, in my opinion. Yeah. So it only leaves more downside, and I don't want to be there. There are better stores like Walmart's getting hit and Costco getting hit on the Amazon headline. Those are opportunities. Macy's getting hit is not an opportunity, in my opinion. So
do you think it's going the way of JCPenney?
I don't know what they're doing anymore because they're a conglomerate. I used to know it inside and out, but I don't anymore. So I really would rather not risk it. So not knowing the intricacies of it, I know they might own real estate, so they might financially engineer themselves a little better than JCPenney. I'm not sure. I'm speculating, but from a technical perspective, there's no reason for me to catch this falling knife.
Even
Jumping
on the
back
line?
over, just one other one before Spencer, you wrap here. I was just going to ask, same stocks, Nordstrom, JWN. Chart looks a lot better on this one, but there was rumors that they might take it private, and obviously market's banking that those rumors might come to fruition because it's given none of the losses or none of the gains back. It went from 40 to 48 that day, and it's just hanging out here up at 48. It's hard to trade these things technically when there's a potential, private offer on the table, but what are your thoughts here on, JWN just from a technical perspective?
Well, it's definitely better than Macy's. At least it puts in the floor and it's a visible bounce. And if it does have a bid, that puts a put under it, meaning not too many people want to short it, just like Whole Foods. There was a rumor a few weeks ago, and I told friends and family, don't short it because, you've got that bid hovering. So you don't want to short it. So that leaves the upside path being easier, fewer sellers. So, if that's the case, then I would take a flyer on this one if I have to be in the retail sector before Macy's. So, pick your spots. We have higher lows knocking on some sort of a roof at 48. And if they can break through it, maybe 50 is the next level of the eyeball. And if that goes, then it's not really a cup and handle, but the spirit of it, they're knocking on the $50 level several times. And if they break through it, they overshoot higher. All of this is just pure speculation based on pure price action. I don't know fundamentally the stock.
Nic Chahine, thanks a lot for hopping on today.
Absolutely. Sorry about the technical snafu in the beginning.
It's all good. All right, Nic Chahine, author of Create Income with option spreads on market advice. Something that Nick actually brought up during his interview, I want to bring up again, the MSCI thing. So today, June 20th, is the decision day. I think this is now the third or fourth year in a row that MSCI is going to announce whether or not they're going to add China to its emerging markets index. This does have major implications. Nick said there's like $2 trillion in emerging markets right now. And if they were to add China today, which the common sentiment is they are going to, it would mean every single index or every single fund that tracks the MSCI Emerging Markets Index will have to now go in and dump money into China in order to accurately track their indexes. So we could see some money pouring into Chinese stocks today. So keep an eye out for that.
But this has been a few times they've been trying to do this, and it's never got approved, right?
Based on what I'm reading, sentiment is today's the day. This is the year it's actually going to happen. So I would keep an eye out for that.
Chinese stocks could be volatile here today.
Yes.
Someone's playing around. They got a 3257 print up in what is the symbol here? In KBA, that's Crane Shares, Bosera, China A ETF. So someone jumping the gun there, trying to get a little print up there. They did, but now we're right back down at 31. So I guess you could kind of look at that one as, kind of like a lotto play there. I don't know if you could trade options on any of these things. The primary thing I like to look at when I'm talking about China, if these FXI and
the FXI is a good one.
Yeah, you could tell it's just the way it reacts to the overnight market.
It's liquid.
Yeah, it's liquid, but you put a position on in the morning and you wake up and it's either going to be green or red
because it's moving with the Chinese stocks overnight.
Yeah.
So, and then it locks itself in. The move happens all overnight in the FXI because that's when the Chinese markets are open. But if you look at it right now, it's 39.59 and 39.60. It is liquid. So that's a liquid way to play it, although not intraday for us. It's an overnight trade more than anything.
And then I want to clarify that this move would make A shares available to the broader market and not just H shares. But let's move on.
And if you look at something like CAF, which is Morgan Stanley China A shares funds, it's up 4% here this morning. So you can see a direct benefit there. You can also see the big pop in it yesterday there. So speculation, remember, ahead of time. Sometimes these things known, it can be an instance of maybe buy on rumors, sell on news. So you just got to be somewhat cautious here. Sometimes these things set up a little bit different. Even talking rebalancing and talking stuff like that. Remember, the Russell rebalance is actually this Friday here. So you always see some major moves there in the Russell, and obviously all the smaller cap stocks as they add the smaller ones and they're taking other constituents out. So knowing those, we can maybe publish a list there because those were already disseminated by Russell, the reconstitution, to know which stocks are going in, which stocks are going out. It used to be a slam dunk play to buy the ads and sell the deletes, but it's not that easy anymore because sometimes they overshoot, sometimes they get crowded the one way, and believe it or not, sometimes the last couple of days they can actually go the other way where they buy the deletes and sell the ads. So funny things happen on these rebalances, especially when they're going in indexes.
All right, Pepsi-Cola, question that in the chat. Just a steady march. I did have the little hit to the 115.50 area. Someone has stepped down from the 118 level. 4 highs, just under 17, right at 117.50. So that's your resistance. All-time high, 118.06. And you also bumped up against 118 on 3 or 4 other occasions. So that's the big number on the upside. And on the downside, if you want to exit on weakness, you have a double bottom at 116.23, 116.30. Dennis, any comments on Pepsi-Cola?
118. I mean, the level's very, jumps right out like a sore thumb. Harlan Pine used to always say, look at your chart, what jumps out at you right away? Well, 118 jumps out at me huge. I don't see anything in the book. Immediately when I look at that level, it's like, I'm going to look what's in the book. I see 4,500 shares at 118, so it's not much in the book, but that doesn't mean there's not some institutional algorithm that's just slowly dumping shares there as well, not showing their hands. So 118 looks big to me on that stock.
DC1 looking at Regeneron.
We got some news this morning.
What do we got?
The news is that a drug developed by Novartis does not need to be injected as frequently as Regeneron's version. It's a vision loss drug. The Novartis drug does not need to be injected as frequently as Regeneron's drug in order to be effective. So good news for NVS, bad news for REGN.
Yeah, NVS trading up 1%, the pre-market, RGEGN obviously getting hit here. It was getting hit worse yesterday. You know what? There's a play here happening as of late to buy these stocks that are getting hit, because we saw it yesterday in Tesoro when we had the good news from CLVS. Well, Tesoro had a competing jug, and if you looked at the pre-market, TSRO at one time, I believe, was trading down, just trying to bring it up here. It was trading down like $20 almost, like $15 at least. It got it all back. It came all the way back and ended up closing green. It's unbelievable to come all the way back from, it's trading under 130, got down to 129 the regular session. And then the pre-market, I think it was even lower than that. So here you see the same thing happening set up. REGN really got hit hard early, but now they're starting to come in and slowly starting to buy it back here again. So I don't know. It's been a play to buy the sympathy, or the ones that are doing the counter drug or have the the competing drug. It's been the play to actually buy those on the sell-off.
That dip stopped shy of yesterday's low at 53.54, or excuse me, 56.57. I don't know. I mean, the close was up at 471.67. So if you have a chance, enough gas to get green here, I'd keep an eye on that close.
I like yesterday's low.
You like yesterday's low? You think?
I think I'd be a buyer down near 460. I think it could pop off those lows. 463 right now. It's really thin. I mean, REG, it's 4-point spread here right now. That's the only thing crappy trade the $400 stocks. The slippage is huge. I mean, you can have 2 points of slippage on this thing. That's why I don't love to trade those things, especially in this world where your bids don't seem to get filled only when they're blowing through your price. So the slippage is a concern, but I do like that 460 level.
Novartis just hanging up here at 82.40. Keeping an eye on 82.47. That was your June 2nd high. So it hit it, not really backing off, not a lot of volume. We'll see what happens at 82.50.
Just back over here to balances. Kroger is now 116,000 to buy. The stock has continued to come up here in the pre-market. Other ones jumping out. General Electric, 138,000 shares to sell. Alibaba, which just seems to find buying balances all the time, 114,000 shares to buy. We didn't get a chance to say. So the new symbol for Yahoo, which came out yesterday, Yahoo is gone now. It's AABA. So it's like an official Alibaba tracking stock, basically. AABA, which is being called, is it Altaba? Altaba or something? Anyways, I don't know where they come up with these things.
Alt-Baba. I first thought it was Alt-Baba, but then I realized it was
Alt-Baba would have been better. The alternate Baba stock. That would have been. That's what they thought about, anyways. And they're like, "I'll just lose the B. We'll call it Alt-Taba." But this is just tracking Alibaba now. So Alibaba is trading up 0.22%. AABA is trading up 0.26%. So you basically have an Alibaba tracking stock. So all the HFT arms are right there, just keeping those two pretty much in line. I mean, it does deviate every once in a while, so there's the odd opportunity there, but Baba is AABA is just going to follow Baba now because most of the other stuff is out of it.
And just real quickly, Goldman Sachs a little bearish on the pay systems theme. They downgraded Paychex and ADP here. So just a quick look at those charts. PAYX. We have not much action here in the pre-market. Let's keep an eye on yesterday's low of 60.91. We're below that. Let's look at $60 then, because we're trading below that. Two lows, 59.82 and 60.21. You split that, you got 60 even, and then ADP. That stock has been on a roll, trading down $2 in the pre-market. I don't know. I see a lot of air in this thing, especially if you take out that low at 101.65. You could be looking at double digits here in ADP.
Yeah, I see air there too. The big run up here. Goldman does have, obviously carries a lot of weight when they say something there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some follow through, maybe even down to the $100 level.
All right.
I guess that's
Look,
it
we're
for the
wrapping on
day.
time.
Look at that. We're on time. So here's what's going to happen, folks. I'm going to wrap up the show, and Joel is going to hang out with you. Joel is going to stay on until 9:15, correct?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm gonna wrap up Dennis and myself, and Joel's gonna hang out with you until 9:15. He's gonna basically just talk through some levels that he's seeing. If you're in the chat, he can talk about levels or stocks that you throw in there, and I'll be in the background on mute. So as far as the pre-market prep, the actual show goes, that's kind of it for us today. So I hope you enjoyed our chat with Nick. And please remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe to Benzinga TV on YouTube to get the notification when the show goes live every day. Our podcast is on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher as well, so subscribe to those platforms to get that there. So that's it for Pre-Market Prep today. We're going to go now, or I'm going to go, Dennis is going to go, and we're going to let Joel kind of hang out and do his own little thing. So Joel, where should we start? And I'm gonna head out in the background. So what chart do you want me to get up? Joel, are you with us?
I'm here, Spencer.
Okay.
I'm here.
You're still
all right.
here.
First of all, anybody in the chat, okay, that if we happen to miss a symbol during the show, we apologize. So let's try and take a look at some symbols here first. After that, I'll do a quick run on the S&Ps. First, let's look at EGT here, and that's a stock I'm not very. It's a small stock here. Entertainment, Gaming, Asia. Don't see a lot of activity in this one, and low volume as well. So kind of hard. It had a penny range yesterday. Been trading 233, 235. So not much to say about that one. Maybe get back to $3, but looks like you're going to need. Oh, you're wrong. It's EQT. Okay, thank you. That stock got hit yesterday, right? They did an acquisition, and during acquisitions, usually the acquirer get hit. I believe they bought RICE, Rice Energy. EQ2 got hit, trading up a little bit in the pre-market. Really one level to keep an eye on there, and that's the low of the move at 52.67. It made that low on June 6th. Traded down to 52.89 yesterday. Big volume, so really, if you're hanging out on the long side, a breach below 52.67, you might have to look for the exit button. A level now that you're trading up in the pre-market, let's check. Not a lot of volume. Of course, the first level, if it goes into retreat that you want to see it hold, is that close from yesterday at 53.51. Downward dog is going to keep me busy here with Goldman Sachs. Financial stock here had the nice rally, trading down 53 cents in the pre-market. Falling with the spoos here a little bit, but downward dog, 227. Need I say more? Let me give you some highs here. On the 13th, 26.80. On the 14th, 26.94. And then the high from yesterday, 27.03. Also adding more credence to that area is the high of the move off that, I believe it was a 209 low. That was 226.51. So a lot of resistance here. Obviously, if you're playing it from the short side, you don't want to see it trading in the upper 227 handle. Keeping an eye on the downside. We haven't even taken out yesterday's low yet at 23.11. Another stock here from Downward Dog, Intel, INTC, an old tech stock here, coming back, had that low. Oh boy, this thing looks kind of weak. 35.01, that was your 2-day low. Couple of lows, so minor support here at 35. 35.61. This thing has really been range bound between 35 and 35 and a half over the last 3 sessions. So Intel not looking that good. Closed up near the high of the session at 35.51. 3 closes right at the 35.30 area, trading a dime above that. Let's see here. A couple other stocks now. They're flying in here. MYO, Ace pointed this one out. That was a new IPO. Spencer, if you're there, I didn't see anything in pro on this one. Has anything been added here on MYO? It's MyOmo Inc., and it's had a great run. Really tripled in 3 days. So let's just keep an eye on that all-time closing high of 19.31. We're trading 19.25 right now. Yesterday's high looks like it got a little carried away. You went up to 23.20. But nice volume yesterday on that 5-point move. Keeping an eye on that all-time closing high of 1931.
And Joel,
yes, sir.
MYO is an interesting one. It's the first. It's a crowdsourced IPO, right? So it's the first company to get listed on the National Securities Exchange through a crowdsourced IPO. So that'll be one to keep an eye on, just to see how that kind of plays out.
That one don't have much information on, but we're watching it. 1931. Thank you very much for that, Spencer. Tesla, Dr. J, this thing has had a slow leak here. The news, we got the news earlier in the show for you guys that we're still sleeping, eyeing a Chinese production facility. Popped it up right near that all-time high. So if you were keeping in a high on that print from the other day at 384 and a quarter, and you had your outer orders out there in the 384 handle, mid to lower, you got done. Pre-market high of 384.70. Still trading green by $6 here. So, man, oh, man. Yesterday's high, gap fill. What do you got from yesterday in Tesla? Yesterday's high, 76.70. The close way down is 69.80. So, maybe it's just a reset of, take out that pre-market trading and look at this one and look at yesterday's high at 376.70 and maybe look for another $1.30 if it can get up to 78.01. Stock Hunter, good morning to you, Stock Hunter. OCLR, that stock has been on the move as of late, but pulled back off that high inside day yesterday with a matching lows at 946, holding there right now. Don't like to see it when you put a double bottom in like that. I like it close above it. You closed at 962. You like to see it distance itself for a little bit. Below that, the stock does have some good movement, but if in fact you break that 946, you got to keep an eye on that 925 level. You had 3 lows at that area, but it's important to get off the mat here, off that double bottom at 946. We have not talked about 3D printing stocks in a while. SSYS, that one held up much longer than anybody else. Got over $30 back here. Made a low yesterday, trading up 42 cents. In the pre-market, you have your high on June 9th at 28.88, but I guess trading up. Let's see if we can get the volume. Very small. There's a couple decent prints here. If holding it from the long side, I don't want to see it below the close at 27.58. That still gives you 42 cents of room here. Also, let's look at Triple D, Dennis's initials here. That stock, nice run up and then a pullback. Yesterday's high 20. Do we have any news on it? Let me check here to see if do we get something on these 3D printing stocks. Now that if I see one stock trading up, it could just be that stock related. But when you see 2 up, you wonder if there's kind of a sector move. Nope, not seeing anything on Stratasys or 3D printing. As far as Triple D goes, want to hold yesterday's high at 22.34 as well as the close at 22.09. And let's see here. Cody and SBH, we're seeing a lot of insider buying. Let's take a look at Cody, COTY. I mean, that's something that could have longer term implications. I see Cody trading down. That might just be an odd lot there. 1,000 shares traded down at 1836. Not seeing much down there. Recent low at 1843 and 48. So needs to hold that 1840 level. Not sure why someone sold that down $1 unless they're fading the insiders. John Dotson seeing a lot of inside buying in SBH as well. SBH here, Sally Beauty Holdings, kind of settled in here after a nice run off the 1750 level. Do we have an inside day there? No, not quite here. 1936 was the close with the 1940 high. Boy, I tell you, this thing's been stuck. right at 1950. So if you're looking for a continued run here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs between 1940 and 1959. On the downside, your level is 1890. You had the two previous days lows at 1888 and 1892. At 1892, SHPG, and is this a shipping stock here? Let's see. Oh boy. Well, not too bad. Downward Dog picks up this stock. No, this is Shire PLC. I mean, you got a level to lean on here. You had your low of the move at 161 and a quarter, but pulling back here. Let's see if you got any kind of 111,000 share print here at 164. Now trading 163.99. What was yesterday's low in this one? 164.33. So important for Shire to hold that 164 level. And my buddy Jeff Goldman mentioned dry ships to me yesterday. And is it time for another reverse split in dry ships here? We are back down at 117 after another reverse split that took it up to $5. So I think he said something that this would be like the 7th reverse split. I don't know if it's that many, but dry ships, again, trying to stay above $1. Dennis is looking at the huge size in Procter & Gamble at $90. So let's take a look. We closed at 88.89, getting a little running start into that. How is it trading in the pre-market? Up 3 cents. I mean, keep an eye on 90 because on 89.86 was the high from yesterday. You had a high right at 90 even flat on the nose on April 26th. I think on this one, just with the SPOOs trading down $1.25, maybe use this a little bit more in resistance and don't get too carried away if it takes out 90. On April 25th, you had a high at 90.25, but nice run here in shares of Procter & Gamble. And if you're looking at Procter & Gamble, look at J&J as well. That has had a nice run, but potential double top here. Closed at 134.07, but seems to be a seller lurking at the 134.60 area. Your all-time high, 134.68 on Monday. Friday's high, 134.60. So let's just do a quick recap here of the S&Ps for this morning's trading in case you guys are keeping an eye on that. The first level that I mentioned, and I'll be keeping an eye on early, is the all-time closing high from yesterday at 2447.50. Above that, Monday's print, Monday's all-time high, 2451.50. Pre-market trading, 51 even stands as the high. So it's a little bit early here at 9:14 to be calling for a double top, but that's what you have in place in the market. One area of downside could be looking for support if we continue this downward move. The former all-time high at 2443.50, and then that opens up down to Monday's intraday low at 2438.50. Looking at the crude market here, you are down $1.13 at 43.30. Folks, don't forget though, 10:30 you'll have some oil numbers coming up, expecting a wild move off that. And let's see, gold and silver are in the red as well. If there's not any more symbols here, Spencer, we can wrap things up for today. Appreciate any feedback on the extended broadcast here. Jar, you're welcome. So everyone, have a great trading day. We will be back with you tomorrow morning.